How did these guys go from failed indie band to dance music icons? And why was one bad review the inspiration for Daft Punk's existence? And what did they build in the Californian desert that would change dance music forever? I'm Felix Leiter, welcome to Dance Tracks. This is the incredible story of how Daft Punk became legends in their own lifetimes. But before their helmets and their seminal performance at Coachella, it all began back in Paris with two schoolboys trying to find a sound to call their own. But how did they achieve success? Who helped them? And what did they know that the rest of the dance music industry didn't? Thomas Bangalter and Guy-Manuel de Homem-Christo met as teenagers at school in Paris in 1987. Two quiet kids that were obsessed with music.
The way we got into music is pretty much a very common way, like many teenagers. We were 17 and we just wanted to have a rock band like anybody.
But at first, it wasn't house or disco, it was guitars. In 1992, they formed an indie rock band called Darlin with Laurent Brankowitz, who would later join the band Phoenix. That band name, inspired by a Beach Boys song, reveals their early influences, but they only went on to release a couple of tracks. British music journalist Dave Jennings absolutely slammed the band in his Melody Maker review for the May 1993 issue, calling their sound daft, punky thrash. Thomas and Guy found it funny, so when Darlin collapsed after only a few gigs, they turned the insult into the name of their new project. Thomas and Guy's attention switched from guitars to house, techno and rave culture, looking away from Paris to places like Chicago and Detroit for inspiration. They began producing new and experimental music, raw and energetic. But who would release it? Who would take a risk on this unknown French duo? In the summer of 1993, Thomas and Guy started recording electronic tracks in Bangalter's bedroom at his parents' Parisian apartment. And in September of that year, they attended a rave near the Disneyland Paris complex and hung out with house and techno duo Slam, who ran the influential record label Soma, based in Glasgow, Scotland.
We met Thomas and Guy-Manuel when we came to Paris. Someone got in touch and said that there's these two guys that want to meet you. They really love the label. They love the record Positive Education. They want to, come and hang out and let you hear the music.
The French duo handed over a demo cassette and were soon signed to the label and released their first single, The New Wave, in 1994. It may not have been a huge success, but then came Da Funk, released in 1995, a filthy, swaggering electro track that sounded like hip-hop, house and funk had all been dropped in a blender with added attitude. At first, hardly anyone noticed, but when the Chemical Brothers started playing it in their sets and Annie Nightingale dropped it on Radio 1, it blew up. By 1996, major labels were circling. But Thomas and Guy were careful. They didn't want to do a deal that turned them into record label puppets. They wanted full control of their musical project. Eventually, Virgin Records promised them that freedom. And in January 1997, Daft Punk released Homework. The title was perfect because that's what it was. Music created at home. The success of the album took the French touch sound around the world. The pair made their North American debut in May 1996 on a campground in Wisconsin to around 4,000 ravers in the middle of a forest. A photo from that show is featured on the sleeve artwork for the album, but the duo craved anonymity. They didn't seek fame in the old-fashioned sense, they wanted the music to do the talking, so they had to take matters into their own hands.
As Daft Punk, we're not showing our faces in pictures or television.
But by hiding their faces and what they did next, they actually became one of the most recognizable dance acts on the face of the planet. According to Daft Punk mythology, on September the 9th, 1999, at exactly 9:09 a.m., something mysterious and life-altering happened. In their studio, a sampler exploded, and when Thomas and Guy woke up, they were no longer human. They were robots. Now, obviously, that's utter nonsense, but that is what made it genius.
I remember the day when Tomas told me that they were getting helmets made. I'm like, who does this? It's like 20 some odd years old. Like, I wouldn't have thought to do something like that. I think the masks are a reflection of who they are as people, because if they really wanted fame, they could take the masks off.
They didn't just hide their faces with helmets, they created a myth, a story, an identity. And once the robots arrived, everything changed. Because Daft Punk had solved a huge problem with electronic music. How do you make it visual? How do you turn two people behind machines into something cinematic? Their robot personas allowed them to create characters that could transcend reality. Channeling their shared love of sci-fi, the pair emulated the robot stars of movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still and Star Wars. The helmets would evolve over time, becoming icons of popular music and dance culture. But it was what they did next that would turn Daft Punk into superstars. In March 2001, Daft Punk released Discovery. And if Homework was gritty club music, Discovery was pure imagination. More melodic, more emotional, and inspired by disco gems from the past. The first single to explode was One More Time, a euphoric, filtered disco anthem that sounded like a celebration of everything the French touch sound stood for. Then came Digital Love. Aerodynamic. Harder, better, faster, stronger. And it started to become apparent that Daft Punk were doing something that almost nobody else could. Creating music that felt futuristic and nostalgic at exactly the same time. Like disco broadcast from another planet. That album transported you into a sci-fi musical universe. And this is important because lots of electronic acts produced great music. But Daft Punk understood something deeper. How to create a world that they could inhabit. The helmets, the visuals, the mystery. Every part of it fed into the mythology. You weren't just listening to Daft Punk, you were entering into their world on their terms. But then they vanished. After Discovery, they barely performed live. For years, you could hear Daft Punk everywhere, but they were nowhere to be seen. Until they returned with something that confused almost everyone. Ever wonder why DJs seem to have better versions of tracks than anyone else? That's because pro DJs aren't always playing the original track. They're playing exclusive edits produced especially for DJs. But you won't find them on Spotify, Beatport or YouTube because they never get released. Where you will find them is on Doing the Damage, the sponsor of this video and the only specialist DJ pool for house, disco and tech DJs. There's a discount link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen now. In 2005, Daft Punk released Human After All, their third studio album, and people genuinely did not know what to make of it. Compared to Discovery, it sounded cold, minimal, and almost unfinished. Recorded in 6 weeks and using only one sample, it was produced to invoke fear and paranoia. Critics hated it, and some fans were left confused. After the emotional head rush of Discovery, it felt like Daft Punk had slammed the door shut on its joyful past. But looking back, Human After All was more important than people realised at the time, because those tracks were built for real-time deconstruction. The album may have confused people in 2005, but just 1 year later, inside a tent in the Californian desert, those tracks would make perfect sense. Doing his best to oversee all this behind the scenes was their manager, Pedro Winter, also known as Busy P.
Bonjour, my name is Pedro Winter and I'm from Headbanger Records in Paris. My job mostly was to say no to everybody and everything.
No to DJ sets, no to live shows, and no to anything that would unravel the mystery of Daft Punk. But something was about to change. An offer arrived from Coachella's management team, sent more out of hope than expectation.
This is the offer we sent for Daft Punk. As you can see, it is a one-page offer. And after we sent this offer, they had 30 days to let us know if they wanted to come and play the show.
Pedro would usually have said no, but something about this offer felt different.
I received one day an email from Jerry Gerard, which is a Daft Punk agent at the time. Oh, I have an offer from Golden Voice. They're doing this cool new festival, Coachella. This is going to be like the 6th edition. Trust me, it's a cool festival in California.
So instead of rejecting it, he sent it to Thomas and Guy. And for some reason, on this occasion,
they said, okay, let's take the challenge, let's accept the offer, and let's make the best out of it, and let's spend 100% of the budget into creative ID.
Because they weren't just going to turn up and play records. They were going to build something that nobody was expecting. And it would change dance music and festival live shows forever. Before we get to that Coachella performance, I need to know something. Which Daft Punk track defines them for you? Because everyone I ask seems to have a different answer. For me, it's One More Time, but let me know which track you think is peak Daft Punk. These people are entering Coachella on April 29th, 2006. Some of them would make it into the Sahara tent to see something life-changing. But it's important to remember, at this time, Coachella wasn't the global epicenter of pop culture as some see it today. Founded by punk and rock promoters, it started out as a risky desert festival in 1999, losing a ton of money in the process.
The idea of like a European-style festival in the United States was sort of unprecedented. So when Paul first started Coachella, I thought it was a little baffling.
And for the next few years, rock bands, hip-hop acts, and electronic music pioneers all collided in one place, the Empire Polo Club, Indo, California, located in the Coachella Valley of Riverside County. But in the early 2000s, dance music in America was under attack.
If I were governor of my state or mayor of my town, I would be passing new ordinances relating to stiff criminal penalties for anyone who held a rave. The promoter, the guy who owned the building, I would put the son of a gun in jail.
But Coachella kept booking electronic dance music artists. And inside the festival, in the Sahara tent, dance music had its own universe. Daft Punk hadn't played a major live show in years. Nobody knew what to expect. When the lights dropped, the crowd started chanting. The first thing they heard was the melody from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, just like something from another planet was about to land. When the curtains slowly opened, there it was, a huge pyramid with 2 robots standing inside. And right there and then, electronic music didn't look underground anymore. It looked like a spaceship had landed in the desert. And then the music kicked in. They weren't just playing songs, they were remixing their own catalogue live in real time. And now, Human After All made sense. Those cold, repetitive tracks became the backbone of the show. The crowd loved it, and dance music legends, they loved it too.
As headliners here today, it was just absolutely amazing how they got embraced by what they are as a group, as artists. But at the end of the day, they brought the funk and the sound and the house music to the table, and the new electronic sound. They're the ones that were there first before anyone else. So for me to hear them today was amazing.
That night didn't just change Daft Punk, it changed the expectations for electronic music forever. After Coachella 2006, dance music couldn't just sound big anymore. It had to look big. Bigger visuals, bigger production, bigger ambition. And whether you love or hate what EDM became, it was that moment, that performance that opened the door and unleashed the beast. Because after Daft Punk destroyed the Sahara tent, electronic acts could headline festivals, dominate main stages, and create icons to match the bands of the past. Just like Fatboy Slim proved a DJ could fill a beach with over 250,000 ravers, and The Prodigy proved rave music could headline rock festivals, Daft Punk proved electronic music could headline any major festival. And here's where I enter this crazy story. After Coachella, Daft Punk took the pyramid around the world. The Alive tour shows became the stuff of legend. The 2007 Alive album captured that energy and turned the songs people already loved into something even bigger. Because this wasn't just two robots pressing play. They were triggering loops, filtering, distorting, and cutting tracks apart to rebuild them in real time. The live show combined insane lighting and cinematic visuals, delivering a headline show worthy of the robot's music. I got to experience it for myself at Global Gathering at Long Marston Airfield almost 20 years ago. I remember closing my eyes and feeling fully immersed in the Daft Punk universe. For me, their impact on my love of dance music is almost unrivaled. But what would they do next? Could they top this performance and keep releasing incredible music? Daft Punk would, of course, go on to achieve huge success after this tour. Tron, Random Access Memories, Get Lucky, and that Grammys performance, all before the heartbreaking split in 2021. If you'd like a part 2 on this video post Coachella, drop me a like or a comment and I'll get right on it. But from a failed indie band to robot reincarnation and a pyramid in the desert, the French duo understood something most artists never fully grasp. The music matters, but it's the myth and the legend that will make you immortal. If you enjoyed this one, check out my videos on Fatboy Slim, The Prodigy, and Carl Cox. And hit subscribe if you love dance music culture, because there's so many more stories to tell.